Good evening, Fertility Tribe. Hello, how are we? Hi, Jessica. Hello, sweetheart. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
It's nice to see the fan in the background. We're freezing on this side of the world.
Oh, not here. It's hot.
Yeah, we've just come off winter solstice, so it's like it's been the coldest time and the darkest time of the year, but we're coming out of it. We're coming out of the cocoon, but I love seeing that fan there because it's like, that's the sun. It's the summer solstice over there. You've got the expansion. Sunshine. I love it. Darling, welcome. It's always good to be part of these meetings. How are you?
Nice and sunny out there.
How did you go with your softball?
It went pretty good. We ended up losing. I think we got fourth or fifth place.
Amazing.
But it was a good time.
Great. As long as you had fun.
Yes.
Darling, welcome.
I did.
Renata, hello. Hello, welcome. She's connecting to her audio. Hello, Renata. Ryan, do you want to say hello to us? You might want to unmute, turn your video on, say hello. Hi, Renata. How are you, sweetheart? Do you want to unmute, say hello?
There's the button. I'm good. Hi.
Hello, sweetheart.
I'm good.
Are you well?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I love this color on you. This color is like this color in Chinese medicine. It connects to the heart. Hi, Ryan. Hello. Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you doing?
Okay, good. Good, I'm good. Sorry about that.
Don't worry.
It took me a while to figure it out.
Better late than never. You know, I just like to bring us all in, you know,
Yeah.
make us feel like we're part of a little circle here. So I'm just going to be talking about glyphosate today. And I think I might make a start. And then I'm just going to open up the Q&A like I always do. So stick around. And remember, when you want to ask a question, just turn your video back on and unmute yourself. I'm such a people person. I love connecting to your faces and I really resonate with that. So don't be afraid to ask any questions at the end, Ryan.
Okay.
Okay, let's make a start, shall we? All right, glyphosate. Now, this is a big topic. This is a big, big topic. I've been wanting to talk about this for quite some time. And because it's such a big topic, there's a lot of research around it. And I wanted to take my time diving into the research for you so that we could bring up a lot of stats and statistics so you're very informed about the impact of glyphosate on sperm, on your egg quality, but also on the environment. There's, you know, glyphosate is not just, you know, in the fertility niche, but it's having such a global impact. And, you know, considering we've got such a global decline in fertility, not just in female fertility, but particularly sperm, it's a big issue. And glyphosate is having such an impact on our sperm and our parameters. So if we look at what glyphosate is the single most heavily used agricultural pesticide in the world. And the most well-known commercial product containing glyphosate, and we all know this product, it's called Roundup. It was produced by Monsanto in the 1970s, 1974. And that's when we started to see the decline in the fertility. That's when all the parameters started, slippery dip. All right, it all started in the 70s when glyphosate came on the world stage. It was taken over by Bayer, so it's a large pharmaceutical company in Germany, but yeah, that was in 2018. But, you know, it's just nice to know the backstory. But what is glyphosate? So if we look at its chemical name, it's N-phosphoenolmethyl-glycine. It's basically a herbicide. It's a weed killer. You know, it's not rocket science. It's widely used in agriculture. It's used in forestry. It's used in industrial weed control, lawn, garden, and even aquatic environments. So it's widely used on genetically modified crops that are engineered to be resistant to glyphosate, and they're referred to as the Roundup Ready crops. And this allows farmers to spray the glyphosate to control the weeds without harming the crop. It's also used as a pre-harvest desiccant on certain non-GMO crops. So let's just look at the main genetically modified crops that it's used on: soybeans, corn, cotton, canola, sugar beets, and alfalfa. Then the non-GMO crops that I, spoke about as a pre-harvest desiccant. We've got wheat, barley, oats. We've got lentils, it's beans, so all your pulses, your peas, these are your split peas, and then there's the non-GMO canola. We've also got other uses in orchards and vineyards, and they're used on apple and citrus and weeds in the orchards, but then we've got non-crop areas. So it's applied to control weeds in non-crop areas around railways, we've got it around the roads, we've got it around buildings. Now, it kills plants, and how it does this, it inhibits this metabolic pathway known as the shikimate or shikimate. I like the shikimate, tomato. Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't really matter how you say it, but sometimes it's also known as the shikimate. So from this talk, remember this pathway. This is the most important pathway because this is the link that ties everything to what I'm going to talk about. So remember the shikimate, the shikimate. Got it? That's what you're going to remember from this talk. You're never going to forget this pathway. And if you want to start doing a deep dive into the shikimate pathway, by all means, there's so many YouTube videos that will explain it in greater detail. But this pathway is crucial for plants and some microorganisms. It doesn't exist in humans. Now, this is where it gets interesting. These digestive organisms, these microorganisms that are in our gut, rely on this pathway. So the impact indirectly, this is where the link is, the indirect link is that the glyphosate is affecting our microbiome. Now, this is your estrobolome as well. So it's going to affect your estrogen pathways. So what have we got? Well, we've got all these things playing out. We've got disruption to the gut microbiome. So it's going to kill off your good bacteria, your beneficial bacteria. It's going to lead to a big overgrowth of the harmful bacteria. And that's going to produce like lots of endotoxins. We've got increased permeability, and that's the intestinal permeability. So we've got leaky gut syndrome. And so this is going to affect the lining. So then it just means that the endotoxins can then enter the bloodstream. All right, so then what have we got? We've got chronic and systemic inflammation in the bloodstream. So that's when we've got things happening with autoimmune, all right? And then those we call these pro-inflammatory cytokines, they can harm the reproductive health. And that applies to both sperm health and egg quality health. So then we've got oxidative stress. So that's chronic inflammation, exposure to the endotoxins, increases the oxidative stress, damaging your reproductive cells, impairing their function, and it's disrupting your estrogen pathways. And then we've just got a lot of, these lipopolysaccharides. These are, what happens when they die. We've got glyphosate indirectly contributing to this endotoxemia. That's a terrible word, isn't it? Endotoxemia. That doesn't sound good. So what does that mean? Then we've got, systemic inflammation, such as, SIRS, systemic inflammatory response syndrome. We've got chronic inflammation, insulin resistance. We've got non-fatty liver disease, non-fatty alcohol liver disease, neurodegenerative diseases. We've got autoimmune diseases, depression, anxiety, leaky gut, IBS, and infertility. We've then got like the farmers and the farm workers that are exposed to it. They are ingesting these residual sprays of glyphosate. And, that's having an impact mentally on them and physically. Long-term pesticide use has been linked to high rates of depression and suicide among farmers and farm workers. And this is the statistic that really just made me really sad. I mean, I was just devastated when I did the research on this, that suicide from pesticide ingestion is one of the 3 most common means of suicide, causing over 150,000 deaths per year. So that's really sad. I got sad doing this talk, but I'm advocating because I want the world to know about glyphosate and the impact, not just on our fertility, but let's look at the impact on our fertility. So if we're looking at sperm health, we've got the oxidative stress, all right? It's going to damage your DNA. It's going to damage your sperm function. We've got hormonal disruption. So it's going to disrupt, spermatogenesis. We're going to get reduced sperm counts, reduced motility, reduced morphology. Then because it's attacking our immune system, remember our gut is where we get our immunity from. So this may mean that the immune system will mistakenly look at sperm as foreign invaders. So it reduced, we're going to get reduced sperm viability. If we're looking at the egg quality, we've got, like I said above, the inflammatory cytokines. So this chronic inflammation releases these cytokines that negatively affect the ovarian function. We're getting issues with follicular development. So it's really impacting the egg quality. We've got the oxidative damage, and you know what oxidative damage does to oocytes? They're your egg cells. It impairs their viability, and it increases the risk of chromosomal or abnormalities. And then the hormones are balanced because you've got inflammation, endotoxemia. What do you think that's going to create? It's going to create a hormonal mess. So it's going to impair regular ovulation, healthy egg development. So let's look at the environmental impact. All right, let's look at the half-life of glyphosate, because I like to look at science and get the stats, and then we can start to deduce. All right, the half-life ranges up to 197 days. That's the half-life of glyphosate. So that's 6.5 months for it to break down in the soil. So what's it doing to the soil? It's like, the soil is like our microbiome. So it's going to, disrupt the entire food web. It's going to, affect cross-pollination of species. We're killing all the microorganisms in the soil. We're depleting the structure of the soil. We are, what else? Bees. We've looked at the bees, their digestive systems. They're more vulnerable to infection. We're getting, species are dying out, and I'll talk about these further on. The plants that are exposed to glyphosate, they display stunted growth, loss of green coloration, leaf wrinkling, malformation, and tissue death. If we look in the fish and the wildlife, glyphosate negatively affects the immune system. So they're getting, lymphocyte responses. They're getting the same antibodies that are happening and increases in those pro-inflammatory cytokines. So the animals, we're seeing animals, they're displaying, from glyphosate exposure, anorexia, lethargy, hypersalivation, vomiting, diarrhea. And then we've got the agricultural chemicals account for about 2/3 of all water pollution. And these are called the dead zones. And dead zones are basically water areas that lack oxygen due to chemical contamination, which means that, we're suffocating the sea life. Now, dead zones have been doubling in size every 10 years since 1960. Okay, so we can see that we're affecting the salinity, the crops, the insects, but some of the insects, let's look at these beautiful insects. Bees, they rely on wildflowers, and they rely on nectar and pollen, and there's all this information, all this research is showing that it impairs their navigation and learning abilities. With butterflies, particularly the monarch butterflies, there's a decline in milkweed plants, and they are crucial for the larval stage of the monarch butterflies, and that's linked to the widespread use of glyphosate. Ladybugs, I love ladybugs. I put them on my hand and watch them fly off, and I don't see them many ladybugs anymore, but they rely on aphids, and they're being impacted. We've got lacewings, ground beetles, hoverflies, aquatic insects. So all of these, they rely on this web, and we are destroying our ecosystem with glyphosate. Now, this is the interesting part. The weeds are actually fighting back now. We've got over 50 species of weeds that have evolved the ability to survive glyphosate. Sheesh, I'm going to say that, sheesh, or Schweppes. It's another way of saying shit, isn't it? So we've got increasing resistance to glyphosate. The research into herbicides has basically been stagnant for decades. And now farmers are, they're getting pretty worried about the weeds. All right. Does this sound like the definition of insanity? So now guess what the farmer's doing? Spraying more and more and more Roundup, different combinations. Okay, so now we're going to start looking at, you know, some of the data, because we've got the cancer risk now. You know, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, the IARC, classified glyphosate as probably a carcinogenic to humans in 2015. And this classification is based on evidence linking glyphosate exposure to non-Hodgkin lymphoma, among other cancers. And like I said at the beginning of my talk, since the 70s, since glyphosate's been on the market, we have seen this steady decline of sperm particularly. And, you know, same with female fertility, you know, because it's having an impact on our eggs. But, you know, sperm, you know, it's literally declining at a steady rate of 1% per year. It's in the drinking water, it's in the soil, it's in the air. Let's look, it's in our vegetables and agricultural areas. But let's just look at some studies. I like to back all of this up with studies, and I have literally got a whole page of studies that I've just done a deep dive into this. So I'm very passionate about this subject. In the Exotoxicology and Environmental Safety Journal in June of this year, so this is quite recent, for the first time, the presence of glyphosate in human sperm in nearly 60% of male patients in an infertile French population. And they found the concentrations 4 times higher in sperm than in the blood. All right, so then we've got another study. This one was done in Idaho in 2021. They did a study of pregnant women for 10 months, and these women were living near farmland. They found that those living within 1/3 of a mile, roughly 500 meters, of an agricultural field had significantly higher levels of glyphosate in their urine than those who lived further away. Now, this is in the Environmental Health Perspective, EHP Publishing. Their research also found that eating organic food, yes, it does help with the women living further away. But if you're living near the field, it had no impact on the glyphosate levels. All right, we've got a PubMed study in 2018, the effect of glyphosate on human sperm motility and sperm DNA fragmentation. This was a PubMed study in 2018. It concluded progressive motility of glyphosate-treated samples was significantly reduced 1 hour post-treatment in comparison to the respective controls. We've also got Mums of America, all right, mumsofamerica.com. They were testing the breast milk. 3 of 18 breast milk samples detected glyphosate. They also tested some baby infant formula. So 6 of the 40 infant formula samples had glyphosate. Tampons. They tested all the tampons. 85% of all tampons tested positive for glyphosate. And then we've got another study found that glyphosate exposure during pregnancy was associated with these effects: preterm birth, shortened gestational duration, and reduced fetal growth. Now, that study was in the Environmental Research Journal in January 2022. And in that study, this is the most interesting part that I found fascinating. They detected glyphosate and its breakdown product, AMPA, in almost all the examined maternal urine samples, greater than 94%. So, countries, finally, we're getting to the good stuff. Finally, all right, we've got Austria, bans it in 2019. Thank you, Austria. Austria became the first EU country to ban glyphosate. All right, we've got Bermuda, Saudi Arabia. These are the 3 main countries that have completely banned it. We've got other countries with regional or partial restrictions: France, Germany, Italy. You know, they are phasing it out entirely in agriculture, although some exemptions remain. The Netherlands banned the non-commercial use of glyphosate in 2015. Vietnam has banned the import of glyphosate in 2019. And then other countries that are moving towards the bans: Belgium, Luxembourg, Malta. Mexico has announced plans to phase out glyphosate by 2024, with gradual restrictions being implemented. This is the saddest part. While there's no bans, guess where? Australia and the US, there's no ban on glyphosate. So that was the most devastating part of the research for me, because I work primarily in the US and Australia. And so this is where the greatest toxicity is. So what can we do to reduce our exposure? Let's look at that, because I want some solutions here, because it all looks like doom and gloom. But we need to wash our fruit and vegetables thoroughly. We need to use, consider using, I'm a big fan of the zeolites at the moment, 1 to 2 teaspoons of the zeolites into a large bowl, or, fill up your sink, and literally it'll help wash the residue of the glyphosate, heavy metals, other chemicals off. You can use your apple cider vinegar, so a vinegar solution, 1 part vinegar to 3 parts water. But we just need to thoroughly wash everything. We want to even use, in our washing powder, you can use your zeolites, all right? You can add like a tablespoon to your washing, because a lot of the laundry soakers and, there's just so many chemicals added to everything. Let's try and choose organic. Let's try and opt for organic vegetables, fruits, grains, other foods where possible, and organic farming practices, that don't allow the use of glyphosate. We could also look at growing your own food. If you've got space, consider growing your own fruits and veggies and using organic methods to control weeds, and, replace them with organic pesticides. We want to filter the drinking water. We want to remove the glyphosate and all the contaminants, all right? So get a water filter. That's going to be one of the first things you can do, because we want to just start small. I'm making this an invitation to you to literally get on board with this. We want to avoid glyphosate-based herbicides. So if you've got Roundup, get rid of it. Look for alternative weed control measures, mulching, manure weeding, organic and natural herbicides. Create buffer zones, all right, so where it's being used, so there's dense vegetation. So we just want to reduce the drift and minimize exposure to glyphosate spray. I want you to make sure, if you are using it, that you have protective gear, clothing, gloves, masks, all right, that you're just not inhaling it or getting any direct skin contact with it. In terms of dietary measures, we want to diversify your diet. So, when you look at your week, have I had 30 different food sources on my plate? Can I, rinse your legumes and grains, because you can see that we're using it pre-harvest. So it's everywhere. All right, you might want to support, the Farmer's Footprint. I love them, the Farmer's Footprint, Zach Bush, the farmersfootprint.us. Check them out, amazing. You could download nontoxicneighborhoods.org. I've got resources, I'll put them at the end of this video. But if we're looking at some supplements that I might recommend, so clearly zeolites, I'm a big fan of the zeolites, the clintoxylite zeolites, activated charcoal, because it binds to toxins as well, helps removal and out through the body and the digestive tract. We've also got chlorella, a type of green algae known for detoxifying properties. We've got milk thistle. I'll often use that. It supports liver function and enhances the liver's ability to detoxify various compounds, including glyphosate. Your N-acetylcysteine, your NAC, it boosts your glutathione, and that's a powerful antioxidant that helps support detoxification. And then you can use, glutathione directly. Sometimes we might use it topically. Probiotics, clearly for your gut health, because we want to look after that microbiome, because that's where it's coming in. That's where we're getting hit. We want to get that flora right. So, supporting your gut health with probiotics and probiotic and prebiotic rich food. Vitamin C, folate, magnesium, because magnesium supports all your detoxification pathways and can just help mitigate some of the effects of glyphosate exposure. Additional supplements. So I might, if there's lots of inflammation, I might be using something like curcumin. This is your turmeric, dandelion root. I might be using, broccoli sprouts, because they're really high in sulforaphane, and that supports detoxification pathways. I actually had some broccoli sprouts with my scrambled egg this morning, and it was delicious. Aloe vera also supports your detoxification pathways and your gut. It helps with that lining. And fiber. We want to think about fiber, because fiber is how we detoxify and we export it out of the body. So think of all your fiber-rich foods, so you want it to bind. So if you're not pooping well, then you could add in some psyllium husk and some flax seeds. These are good strategies. In terms of lifestyle recommendations, hydration is everything, because it's all about flushing out the toxins. we want to be drinking a lot of water, filtered water, organic diet, some infrared sauna, all right, because that encouragement of sweating, it's going to help eliminate toxins through the skin. Exercise, we all know, promotes circulation, helps in the elimination of toxins. And castor oil packs, I think every live, I'm always talking about the castor oil packs. Now, if you are trying to conceive, remember we start them from the last day of your period until ovulation, and then we stop. For the guys, you can actually do them under the liver, which is just below the breast on the right side, and you can do them daily, every day, second day, all right? And you can make your own castor oil packs. That one pack that you make, this is my mouse pad, but literally you can make a little pack underneath your breast, and you can fold it back up, put it in a jar, and you can reuse the same pack over and over again about 25 to 30 times. So you can DIY your castor oil packs at home. I love castor oil packs. queenofthethrones.com are other places. Well, this is a great place that you can get your organic castor oil and your packs that are already made if you don't have time to make them yourself. So remember, I'm a doctor of Chinese medicine, and I'm always going to infuse and integrate the acupuncture and the Chinese herbal medicine, because this is part of my medicine. And acupuncture is amazing for supporting natural detoxification processes, enhancing the liver and kidney function, and restoring balance. That's what I love about my medicine. So in terms of acupuncture, we'd be supporting your liver and kidney function. So I'd be doing a lot of points on the liver 3, liver 14. So liver 14 is just below the nipple, directly in that, it's the 6 intercostal space, bilaterally, and that is going to promote the liver function. It may even be tender to touch, so you palpate it and give it a go. Kidney points, kidney 3, kidney 27, I often will use those to support the kidney function and to help with the body's detoxification processes. If I'm enhancing chi and blood circulation, which is going to boost your overall vitality and also support your gut and microbiome, I'd be looking at stomach 36, just below the kneecap, just beside the tibial tuberosity. And, it's like I literally pound this point about 36 times like a timpani drum. But it's going to aid in detoxification, spleen 6, spleen 9. And then if I'm clearing heat and toxins, I might use Hegu, joining of the valleys. It's the analgesic point, but it's effective for clearing heat and inflammation and toxins from the body. I may even use large intestine 11, colon 11. It's amazing for clearing heat and toxins. Gallbladder 34 is another one. So it also helps in the detoxification pathways. In terms of Chinese herbal medicine formulas for detoxification, we've got so many, and it also depends on what your differential diagnosis is. But just for the purposes of just explaining some, I'll just give you 3 that I might use for detoxification. Longdan Shigantang. So this is a decoction that drains the liver, and it's used to often clear heat and drain dampness from the liver and the gallbladder. Yinshen Haotang. It clears heat and dampness, and it's particularly beneficial for liver function. And then we've got the Li Dan Pai Shi Wan. I call this the spring clean. Spring clean clears damp heat in the liver. So if we're looking at dietary recommendations from a TCM perspective, I love TCM. It's very holistic. We're going to incorporate detoxification foods. So they are your leafy greens, such as kale and spinach and cilantro. This is your coriander, bit of melon. I like this for clearing heat and toxins. Cruciferous vegetables, they support the liver detoxification pathways. This is your brassica family, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. And I love mung beans. Mung beans are really good for detoxification. We also want to, in Chinese medicine, avoid foods that will create dampness and heat. So, avoid dairy, fried foods, spicy and greasy foods, all right? Because that's going to contribute to that internal heat, and your body's just going to feel stuck. Then, regular exercise promotes chi and blood circulation, hydration. Clearly, that's a no-brainer. And stress management. So I love that we do this in Chinese medicine. I teach a lot of meditation, a lot of breath work, lower diaphragmatic breathing, 4-7-8, box breathing, pranayama from a yogic perspective, but qigong. These are some of the things that I will incorporate with my patients when I'm doing the fertility coaching. So I think the biggest takeaway And I hope that you've learned something today, but the biggest takeaway is that glyphosate's everywhere. It's widespread contamination of glyphosate. It's in many facets of our lives, many of which we're not even aware of. And, you know, for me, I've been finding out, doing this research, realizing it's not just about our fertility, it's in our food, it's in our breast milk, it's in our sperm, in our water, in our urine, it's in our wine, it's in our beer, it's in our breakfast foods, including your organic. And so, you know, your grains, your pulses, the clothes we wear, it's in our tampons, it's in the gauze that's used in hospitals. And there's just too many to list, but that gives you a big, it's, you know, you can see it's absolutely everywhere. I think that's the biggest takeaway. So, you know, currently twice as many pounds of glyphosate are used worldwide than any other weed killer on this planet. So by sheer volume, it's our biggest problem to date. So this massive impact of glyphosate on fertility, it's undeniable. So part of these talks is just about raising awareness. So whatever you've learned today, share it with 3 or 5 people in your neighborhood, and let's get the word out, because it's literally, if we can start planting little seeds, we can make a difference. Thank you. So I'm going to open up the Q&A now. Does anyone have a question? Jessica, would you like to unmute yourself?
No question really, but just the fact that the glyphosate is everywhere and to try and avoid it is nearly impossible. So, but yeah, I mean, nothing really. It's just that it's hard.
It is. And I think for us, like, you know, when we're doing this work in fertility, we can often just think, there's the problem is with me. And, you know, sometimes it's so outside of us. You know, we go down a lot of these rabbit holes going, it's got to be this, it's got to be this, it's got to be me, it's got to be me. But it's like, if you're being poisoned, it's very difficult to deal with that. You know, so sometimes, you know, like this talk for me, just massive spotlight, massive light bulb moment that I can bring this awareness to all of you. And I know that sometimes we can't find what the answer is. Maybe it's just the glyphosate. Renata.
Dr. Fiona, I have a question. Knowing what my husband's sperm quality is, we have low morphology, DNA defragmentation. We don't even know what my eggs look like. Yeah, it is a candid question. Is it a lost cause? Like, the longer you live on the planet, the more exposed you are. So, you know, that's it. You know, is there any light at the end of the tunnel? I mean, you can eat all the vegetables, take all the knack, but then it's like a game of tug of war, I see. And yeah. Is there any hope?
Is there any hope? There's always hope. There's always hope. I believe in the power of humanity, that, you know, united as a front with awareness. That's why I advocate for these things. And, you know, they're touchy topics, because it does feel like, whoa, this could be our extinction, but it could also be our resurrection. And that's how I like to look at it. You could look at the glass half empty or the glass half full. I used to be a pessimist. Being with my husband, he is the eternal optimist. I don't think I've met a man that's more positive than my husband. He looks at the world with the greatest enthusiasm and inspires my life, you know. And so I'm starting to look at the glasses now are full. So thank you, Bert, because he has taught me that there is hope. There is hope. But it has to start with awareness first. You have to know what the problem is before we can create the solution. So, you know, I think a lot of our scientists are now going, oh, let's try and find what the solution is. You know, let's put some more funding into the research. But yeah, I think there is hope. And remember, Chinese medicine is about finding the balance, Renata. That's what I love about Chinese medicine. Find the balance. It can go either way. So I think when we get the balance right, there is always hope.
Yeah. And one more thing, the zeolites, I missed the part. You said a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons of zeolites in water when you wash your vegetables?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
With apple cider vinegar or just by itself?
You know what, you could do both if you wanted to. Like, why not?
Okay. Okay.
I used to do just the apple cider vinegar, but now I'm just adding in the zeolites as well. I'm doing both. I'm going in. I'm going all in.
And how long do you soak these vegetables?
From 30 minutes to an hour. Yeah, not a long time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you soak them, you scrub them.
You don't
Okay.
have to scrub. No, just put them all in. I literally, you fill up your sink, put everything in. They're going to bob up and down. I just usually put them in the sink and walk away and put a load of washing on and come back after the load's done. I then, drain them, rinse them off, and then they're good to go.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Preparation is key. Ryan, do you have
Dr.
any? Oh,
Dr. Fiona, what are you said zeolites? How do you spell that?
Yeah, Z for zebra, Zeolite, zeolites.
Zeolites. Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And we want to get the clinoctillolite zeolites. So what I'll do is I'll put the link below this video, but I'll also send you a direct link so you can purchase some. Darcy, hello, my beauty.
Hey,
Hey.
okay. So I know that Stephen, prior to the last 2 years, Stephen has a history of like working in agricultural fields. Is there anything that you suggest that he do? Because I already got him into work, into taking the zeolites, which is good. But anything else that you think that he should do, since he might have been like directly in contact with that?
100%. So, I'll be getting him to do some of the castor oil packs, the liver castor oil packs. We often do that. And so he could be doing them every second night, clearly doing our morning ritual, first thing in the morning with our lemon water, apple cider vinegar. We want to support his gut health. Now, what we can do is we can also look at, getting some testicular readings, right? And comparing and contrasting it to his body temperature. So what we will find is if your testicles hang off your body for a reason, because they need to be about 4 degrees or more cooler than your body temperature. So that could be a little investigation tool that you do over a week, and we'll get some readings in place. And then based on that, if there is some inflammation, we can start to add in some things. Now, it could be, some curcumin, it could be some N-acetylcysteine, we can create a strategy for him.
Okay, so you had said to like maybe do the castor oil packs every other day, and then also like take his temperature every other day or every day?
Yeah, just over a period of a week. So we want to just get a baseline of his testicular health. Because often our testicles are cooking the sperm, they're overheated. I'm seeing this a lot when there's been glyphosate exposure and toxin exposure, that the testes they're running hot. Some patients I have the testes, they're actually higher than the body temperature, and that it should be the reverse of that.
Okay.
So in the interim, get some testicular readings for me. That would be a great start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ryan, do you have a question?
No questions here, but I appreciate the information. I hadn't heard a talk on this topic before, and it was very helpful. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome, darling. I love having you on board. I think knowledge is power, because then we're empowered. And even just by the little conversations we have with each other, this opens it up. I think it's bringing awareness to the topic, and then we all learn. So I just implore you to talk about this to 3 to 5 people in your community. And that way we spread the word and we spread the love and we raise the vibration. Beautiful. Any other questions before I say goodbye?
I wanted to just ask you, what about for Canada, for banning it?
Yeah,
glyphosate.
This is a good question. Yeah, so I'm not sure about Canada's rules and regulations.
It seems like it's probably the same as the US.
Probably. I would have to do some more research. Clearly, there was so much on this topic, but I wanted to kind of just give an overview that, globally, we're moving towards banning it, which is fantastic. But
Yeah.
the answer to that question is I don't know what Canada's stance on that is. Yeah. Yeah. Are you in Canada, Jamie?
Yeah, Toronto, Canada.
Okay. All right. Well, let me find out for you. Let me find out for you, and
Okay.
I'll get back to you. I'll send you a message and let you know.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome, darling. Any other questions?
I just wanted to say something.
Yeah.
I put a message in the chat because I
Okay.
have an extra book.
Yep.
So if anybody on the call wants it, I'll be more than happy to mail it over to them as a gift. So I put my number in there. If anybody's interested, just text me.
Yeah. This is my book.
That's the one.
This is the
And I love it. I love it. I love it.
one set. We've got one going for free as a gift from Jessica. Bless you, my beauty. Mwah. You're divine. So thank you
You're
for
welcome.
sharing. Thank you for the gifts and your time. I will see you again this time next week. Think about some topics you might want me to explore, and I'll run down a rabbit hole for you. But this one was a big one for me. I had no idea of the global impact of it. I knew the impact on fertility, but once I started looking into the ecosystem and the soil and the farm, I was like, oh, it was just a bit overwhelming for me, this topic. So I'm getting passionate. I want to be an advocate for banning glyphosate worldwide and educating farmers about the old practices of tilling the soil and getting that diversity and living together in harmony. So thank you again. Good evening. I'll see you next week. Mwah. Bye, Ryan. Bye, Jamie. Bye, Jez. See you later, Dusty.